turning teachers into lovers. You know, that's the statement. Everybody's either your lover or your teacher. There's always something going on in relationships. Dr. Giesler told me about a book that was written by a guy by the name of Dr. Ira Byrak. He is a physician who has spent much of his life in palliative care and studying people who were leaving this planet. And he would ask them, you know, what is the most important thing in this life? Tell us now that you're leaving. And of course, everybody at the end is very authentic. They're not trying to hide anything. Nobody talks about their job. Nobody talks about all of the events or things. They talked about 4 things. Please forgive me. I forgive you. Thank you. And I love you. Those were the 4 things that he found out that they were talking about. So as I was working up that and thinking about this, the song came to me. And it's kind of crazy to connect it together, but hang on and I'll show you how it connects. The song is zippity-doo-dah, zippity-yay, my oh my, what a wonderful day. Plenty of sunshine heading my way. Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-yay, Mr. Bluebird on my shoulder. And here's the part. It's the truth, it's actual. Everything is satisfactual. Factual. Factual. What if I used the word factual to put all of these ideas, like F would stand for forgiveness. I forgive you. You forgive me. A stands for appreciation. I appreciate everything you do. Think about that. Think about the word appreciation. When somebody comes up to you during the day and say, you know, I just appreciate you and what you do. It opens us up. The C stands for compassion. Because that's what we're talking about, this whole idea of encompassing each other with love. The T stands for thanksgiving, that we are so thankful. Thank you. Have great gratitude. The U stands for unified. We're unified in one together. The A stands for authentic. We're here to live in authentic relationships together. And the L stands for loving kindness. So if we put all of those things together, we get pretty much the essence of what is the most meaningful things to us in this world. And we don't have to be on our deathbed to figure these things out. And the other thing, of course, that we teach here is that we are immortal spiritual beings. And it is so important that once we learn these particular facets and abilities, we don't have to relearn them again, because they go into the universal subjective mind. They go into our subconscious mind. They're carried with us from lifetime to lifetime. And we can say, yes, I am for forgiveness. I'm for appreciation, compassion, thanksgiving, unification. I'm an authentic spiritual being, and I practice loving kindness. I don't think I have to say too much about forgiveness in itself, because we've talked about that before. But I will tell you this, if you already don't know, that forgiveness diffuses everything. When somebody gets upset with you, regardless of who is at fault, we live in a no-fault universe. And the only people that ever try to assign fault are people that are trying to defend themselves. We're not here to find fault. We're here to diffuse it, and all you have to do is look into the other person's eyes and say, I'm sorry, I screwed up. I can tell you it works, and I do it all the time. And it does work. It does. It's not that I screw up all the time, but I recognized a long time ago that just by reaching out and saying I'm sorry. So forgiveness is one of the most important things. Please forgive me, I forgive you. And then appreciation. Dr. Ernest Holmes said it this way. He said, appreciation, gratitude, and thanksgiving are the motive powers that attract and magnify the hidden potentialities of life. Very powerful words. And he told us, he said, Always be there to build up people, never tear down people. Thomas Troward spends a lot of time in his book saying, regardless of where someone is in their life or whatever they believe, build them up. Try to find something in what they believe that is a powerful thing that you can work with them. Don't ever try to tear them down or tell them they're wrong or tell them they're on the wrong track. Always see people in the highest and best light. Ernest Holmes did that. Sometimes when he was discussing Mary Baker Eddy, there's a lot of things to talk about with Christian Science, but he never said anything negative about Mary Baker Eddy and Christian Science. He always saw her in the highest and best light. And he did that with everyone that he saw. He was an example of building up all the time. He practiced the art of harmlessness. Think about it yourself. When you're around somebody and you know there's a vibe that's coming from that person, and you know that it's harmless. They're harmless. They have no motivation to get anything from you. You know, every one of us gets these telecalls. What do they call them? Telemarketer calls. I don't know how many you get a day. I get 3 or 4 every single day. And they want to tell you that they're just here to talk to you and everything is great. And you know that they're out for something. But the harmless person doesn't want anything. He's content in his own or her own skin. So if we learn to become harmless in our thoughts and our words and our actions, whenever we get upset or we get worried or we get depressed or we get down, we know that that's really the opposite of appreciating life. And all we have to do is turn around. You know, Abraham Lincoln said, that statement that he said, everybody's just about as happy as they make up their mind to be. But it's also true that everybody's just about as loving as they make up their mind to be. Everybody's as forgiving as they make up their mind to be. It's the question of how you make a decision yourself. All of us can find reasons why not. But it is the great person that always finds reasons as to why. All of us can find reasons as to why something won't work. But it's the great person that finds a reason why it will. And continues until it does. And that leads us to the C then is compassion. Which means I understand you. I don't understand you just you're talking to me. I don't understand just what you're saying, but I feel you at a deep, empathetic level. Empathy is the ability to see what the other person is feeling. It's an intimacy. It's a sharing. To be with another person for no other reason than just to be with that person. To enter a relationship without precondition. Just to be in love with that person. A compassionate person understands suffering too. He understands the suffering, or she understands the suffering in the world. That's what the Buddha understood. And the Buddha said, why do people suffer? He said, because they crave things. They're attached to things. They think that grabbing and getting things is going to make them happy, and that it's just the opposite occurs, because it is the craving in and of itself that causes the suffering. And that each of us have to come in our own way to find out that doesn't work. And Buddha taught the art of being detached and the ability to be in the consciousness of. We've talked about this before, the idea of people want to have things. But the most important thing is you be. First you be, then you do, then you have. You don't try to have first. And when you're in the consciousness of being, the doing and the having begin to come automatically to us. And that leads us to the next idea, is just thanksgiving. We're so grateful and so thankful. I guess it's easier for me. Because I really, you heard Lou Gehrig say that. He said, I consider myself the luckiest man on the planet. Mm-hmm. People couldn't figure out why. I consider myself the luckiest person on the planet. I don't understand sometimes in my own life how I fell into a relationship or how I got into a relationship with a person who totally taught me about unconditional love. Because I never believed it. I didn't believe it. And we were married for like 10 years and I still didn't believe it. I was still trying to figure out, okay, what's the shtick? What's she trying to get out of this? You know, and then on the other side of that is that, and I know all of us have had it, it's like, I better be careful here because they're going to do something or try to take something from me. And then on the very other side, I'm thinking, well, I'm not worthy for them to take anything anyway. Wait, what if they find out about what I really am like? What if they find out about all the mistakes that I make and that I can't keep up with all this stuff and I got this facade by which I live? But what if they find out deep down inside what kind of person I am? I was always afraid of that. You know, I thought, someday Gisel's going to discover this. She's going to come in the door and she says, I got you now. You're done. Get out of here. Here are the papers. No, really. I mean, these things go through your head if you don't understand unconditional love. And then finally something happens and something clicks. And it was one time when she just turned to me and she said, don't you get it? Don't you understand that I love you and I always will love you? And it doesn't matter what you do, although I would prefer you to do certain things, but it doesn't matter what you do. It's who you are. And all of a sudden, it's like the onion skins begin to unpeel and light begin to come in and I begin to realize. And I first realized it this way. I said, if she sees something in me that is worthy, I guess I have some worthiness. Because she certainly isn't dumb. So she must be seeing something that's there. So I'm going to work on that. And that's how that evolvement came. And of course, everything happens in a relationship. I mean, there are ups and downs in all kinds of relationships. But I will say this in our relationship. Regardless of what was up and what was down, Gisel was always there. Welcoming me and saying, it's okay. We'll make it through this together. So, I guess that makes me lucky. But I will say, regardless of where you are in your life, with your partners or your friends or your neighbors, there is always the possibility of that kind of relationship. And there is always that relationship that exists spiritually. Because there is this power and presence that loves us with an unfathomable love. With a love we just can't understand. It's a totality that just lifts us up to the next person that we are. And so we're so thankful. And then we begin to realize that we really are unified with all people, with the world, with the universe, that we're totally connected. And that brings out the sixth idea of authenticity. We can be ourselves. You know, there's nothing to hide. There are no secrets. There's nothing to hide because I know that I'm loved unconditionally. And I know you're loved unconditionally. So there's nothing that you have to hide. So you can just be yourself. And you know what? When you're being yourself, that's the best being there is. The very best, because it's the real you. And it's there in each of us. And that's my prayer for everyone here in this congregation. And those that we come into that knowing and understanding of who we are. That we are authentic. That each of us have something to give. That without us, it wouldn't be quite the same. That we're all part of a tapestry, and that every single thread and web in that tapestry is important and is looked upon as great and wonderful. And so that brings us to the last idea of loving kindness. The last word that people wanted to say before they left this planet, I love you. Ernest said it this way. He said, we need to fall so deeply in love with life, that we will surrender the egotistical, intellectual concepts that we're separate individuals. Because the truth is, we're individualizations of the divine. The essence of the divine is love. And the essence of each of us is also love. I want to end today with a simple prayer of the heart that each of us can take with us and think about. And you can say it in your own way. I'm just saying it's sort of modeled after the prayer of St. Francis. But you can say it or do it in your own way. I